So welcome, Jack.
Thank you.
Firstly, congratulations on getting through Year 11 in one piece. I guess to kick things off, what was the Year 11 journey like for you?
To be honest, it was really hard. First of all, COVID happened. That was a struggle, and online class, I didn't really learn that well. I find that I learn better in person, so just that was a struggle for me. But I didn't really study ahead. I didn't really do any of the things I'm doing now, so that's one thing. But the bigger thing that I have to say is that I didn't really do homework on time. I didn't really do homework, to be honest.
So you went from Year 10, getting away with not doing any homework, thinking this is going to be a walk in the park, get to Year 11, still don't do homework. What happened?
Well, I understood it. I understood the content. I still understood it, regardless of if I did homework or not. I just didn't apply it. I didn't do anything with the work, so I slowly lost it over time. But then another thing that I did is that I procrastinate a lot. I struggled with discipline, and I struggled with not doing work. So it's just, I never did anything at home really, and I studied, but never really got anywhere. And so then it's just all my grades, they weren't that great. I got like below 50% in a lot of the sciences that I was doing, which was 3 of my courses, and with math.
And was that a bit of a surprise? Like
Yeah.
Year 10,
That was definitely a
I'm
surprise.
imagining you weren't there, you were doing better than that?
Better, yes.
Yeah. And then you've sort of come into Year 11 and like, boom, you get hit by this pretty early on.
Oh, yeah.
Was that a bit of like a freak out moment?
That was a surprise, yeah. It's just, I did the same thing. What's happening? What's different? Especially in English, actually. I went from an A in Year 10 to failing.
Wow.
So it's just, whoop.
Like just to drop off a cliff, basically.
Yeah, I jumped off a cliff.
Yep. Yeah, no. And so that's the start of Year 11. So clearly a little worrying, because I guess I'm imagining you're also projecting forward into Year 12 and going, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't want this to keep on happening.
And it's also, I also struggled with a bit of shame as well, because everyone sees me as smart and they see me as the Doctor of the Year and then like to say that I'm actually failing the courses, it's like,
What's going on here, right? Yeah, like, so you're getting the material, which is clearly why your peers are like, oh yeah, Jack's fine. He's doing really well in this subject. And then something's going wrong or was going wrong in the assessments themselves, right? In terms of the exams, and the results were just
horrible.
yeah. Well, yeah, you said it.
But slowly I've increased my, like over the year I've slowly worked to increase my grades, but they're still not that great just because of the low start.
Where you started, yeah, and that's the journey, right? And I guess the good thing is you've started this process in Year 11.
Yeah.
So we've got some time, which is good.
Thankfully I caught it before Year 12.
Yeah, so now just to capture, what I've heard is like these sort of 3 challenges. One, really a lack of like homework and consistent application that was happening, perhaps partly inspired by, procrastination.
Yeah. Procrastination, lack of discipline, definitely.
Yep. And then the sort of result of that has also then been like poor assessment and exam performance.
Yeah.
Right, so there's sort of the big 3 challenges that Year 11 brought for you.
Yep, and they're all tied together.
Yeah, they are. Funny enough, right? Now, as part of that journey, you started with the Pathfinder program,
Yes.
which has meant that you've been working, I guess, as a starting point with your mentor, Ryan. What have you guys been doing in your mentoring sessions together to try to grapple with these challenges?
Essentially, we've been just planning out what I want to do, why I want to do it, and then what impact it will have on my life. So we started in the midst of Year 11 exam weeks. So it's just, we started a week before all of 2 weeks of exams. So just planning how to study, when to study, and then just talking about why I need to study for it. Because one of the things that I had with my lack of discipline, it came with lack of inspiration. Of like all my motivations were extrinsic, so like it's mainly just getting a good ATAR. So that's not really a great motivator. But just then talking with Ryan about why I want to do it, what I want to do with my future, then how my grades affect that, it inspired me to have the desire and have the discipline to actually do the study. So that's really where I started to improve.
So it sounds like then, yeah, the way you were dealing with procrastination was to get more clarity on the why.
Yeah.
Get more motivated so that, I mean, procrastination, I'm sure, undoubtedly still happens.
Oh, yeah.
But the hope is that you've got a stronger reason to bring you back to focus, ultimately, or to maybe go, oh, you know what, I could procrastinate right now, but I've got a more important thing I need to get working on, which is great.
But one thing that I have to say is that when I'm about to procrastinate and when I'm having like a bad day that like I'm not necessarily bad, but just a day that I'm not really productive and don't really have that much energy, I just stop working because like I'm not going to get any work done. I'm not going to get any good work done. So just stop.
So it sounds like one of the things you've learned is just that self-awareness of, okay, when it's happening, what do I do?
Yeah.
And instead of trying to push through, it's like, okay, now's the point to step back, which is really great. Yep. Yeah. What's one of the best pieces of advice that your mentor Ryan has shared with you so far?
Definitely start your assessments when you get them. Start them as soon as possible, and to essentially just know why you're doing what you're doing. Know, like, if you're doing an art class, know why you want to do it. Is it because you're passionate about it? Is it because you want to do something in the future with art? Like one of my friends, she's doing art and biology to do animation, and to do animation of people. Like, because if she does biology, then she can know anatomy more closely and more accurately than if she didn't.
It sounds like, yeah, to really get clarity on that why has been a really key takeout for you. And so what is your why then? Like, what's the clarity that you gained?
Well, my why is that I'm passionate about science. I love learning about science. I love learning in general. But it's just, my why, to be honest, is to have the knowledge so that I can make discoveries in science, since that's what I want to have my career to be, to give to the world, essentially, to make a discovery that impacts the world, to make it better.
Awesome. And so now that you know that, what I'm hearing is you're saying, well, okay, you're a lot more motivated.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To get your work done for, well, science at school, but across the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
To make sure you get into the course that you want to at uni.
Well, the only other course that I do apart from science and math is English, so I mean...
Well, that's a nice segue, actually. What's the subject that you struggled with the most during Year 11?
English.
Oh, funny you say that, Jack.
Yeah. Actually, the reason why I said that is why it's the one I struggle with most, because since I love science and I love math, there's always an answer, and there's always one answer, or two, when you're doing quadratics, but like, that's minor detail. But there's always an answer, and in English, it's like, anything can be true if you say it's true and have evidence that you think backs it up. And then, like, you can just disregard pieces of text that counter it. It's just, there's no answer that is true, because anything's true, which then in my mind makes nothing true. So it's just, that's what I struggle with in English. And
the subjectivity of it, by the sounds of it, and the vagueness at times, right? So what have you been doing to overcome that challenge and get, I guess, improve your skill set at managing that uncertainty in English?
Patrick has definitely helped with that. He's essentially just, with English, I used to just try and find anything that I could about the text without knowing what I needed to focus on. He's essentially just directed me in my focus, directed me in my study and learning about context. So with 1984, for example, he's just focused me on the relevant piece of information about Orwell's life, like the fact that he grew up in England when it was the closest it's ever been to a totalitarian regime, instead of just, his name is Eric Arthur Blair. Like, that's cool, unnecessary information.
So it's helped you focus on what's mattered, essentially, which is good. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's keep on talking about some of your other subjects as well, because I know English is your struggle, but you clearly do a lot of science, maths, have a real passion for it. Despite that passion and that love, as you shared, your results across Year 11 were still quite a surprise, right? Like, they weren't where you wanted them to get to. How did either the workshop or an intensive or your mentoring as part of the Pathfinder start helping you put some more effective strategies in place for your science and math subjects as well?
It's, in a sense, finding the motivation to do it. So that helped a lot, finding the why I want to do it. That was where the Pathfinder came in. Then with Sarah, she focused what I was doing and then just making sure that I know everything. And just making sure that I know it correctly, and that I don't make assumptions, and that I don't go like, oh, I'm certain in what I know, instead of the wavering uncertainty that I had before.
Yeah, awesome. Now, I want to dive in and talk about end of Year 11 exams, because for a lot of students, they're probably the biggest source of stress in Year 11. It's the first time you've got an exam block, where for most schools you've got 2 weeks.
We had those from year 7 to 10 as well.
Cool. So your school's a little different, right? For a lot of schools, it's not that way. So you've got an exam block and you're getting examined on everything for Year 11. And I suppose maybe in your case, what's more relevant is that Year 11, while not counting officially, is then used for scholarship and early entry. So what I want to dive into is just how you navigated your end of Year 11 exams.
In a sense, reteaching myself the whole year's content. That is what I attempted to do, so I just went through everything my teacher's given me, went through the whole book, and then just wrote study notes, so I didn't actually have time to put any of the information that I learned into practice. But I have great study notes now for Year 11 content. It's just...
Good win.
Yeah, a good win, but it could have been useful much earlier. But I was working till 10, 11 at night, every day, just making those study notes, and then I had like maybe 5 days to do each subject.
So there's a bit of cramming going on, basically.
Cramming, yes.
Yeah. Chaos, cramming, the double C.
Yeah.
And so then when you started working with Ryan as your mentor, how did that start to change your approach for these end of Year 11 exams? Like, what did you guys do that hopefully reined in the chaos?
In a sense, the thing that had the most impact was focusing on when I did what subject. Since I was trying to do multiple subjects in a day, it's like, that doesn't work. I found that doesn't work with me. I like doing deep dives into subjects. So it's just focusing more on when I do what. So
it was like really starting to create more of an intentional plan rather than just like free for all. It was like, okay, you're going to do a certain subject on this day, you're going to do this subject on this day, and then we're going to map that out so that by the time your exams start, you've hopefully done all of the cramming that was needed to be done to catch up on, and be prepped. Is that right?
Yes. Well, the good thing about my exams is that I only had 4 because since my class switched around the science exam with the depth study, so I had my 3 depth studies due as well on the same day as my math exam. That's fun. But I only had 4 exams in those 2 weeks, so that was good. So I could study in between, and I had Monday, Friday, and then the Wednesday next week. So I had time to study in between the exams. So
that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Got lucky, I think, by the sounds of it, which is good. What would be your tips for other students starting their end of Year 11 exams? So now that you've survived the process, did some good things, made some mistakes, looking back, what tips or advice would you give other Year 11 students for their end of Year 11 exams to do their best?
First of all, have a good study plan. Have a good have good study notes. Have a good study plan of when you want to study what, and then do a lot of practice papers if you have the study notes done. Only if you have the study notes done, and then just bombard your teachers with them.
So why not do it if you don't have, because you said only do lots of practice papers if you've got study notes done. Why? Why is that a dependency?
Well, for me, I find the way I study best is with study notes. I study best if I have them. Then I can just, when you have time and you're not doing anything, or you're like, if you are like in the transition periods essentially between classes, then you can look over them, go like, oh yep, know that, and then just see what you know, what you don't know, and then just highlight what you need to practice. And then if you've done that, you can focus more on what you need to practice in previous exam papers.
So 3 things, really quite simple. It's like the formula. It's like get your study notes done, right? Step 1. Step 2 was?
Step 2 was then see what you need to improve on, see what you know.
Yeah, and then step 3 is do a lot of past papers.
Yeah, and then just focus on what you need to improve the most.
Zooming further out, so that was obviously for the end of Year 11 exams. Let's pretend now that you could have gone back in a time machine to the start of Year 11, right? What advice would you give to yourself, or for that matter, any other Year 11 student that's starting the Year 11 journey on, the 3 things they should do that would make the most difference to their Year 11 experience?
I would start studying Year 11 content as soon as you get the books. Plan out your study routine for essentially what you're going to do in the term and for what you're going to do in the holiday. And then study ahead, study what you're going to be doing, make study notes ahead of class, and then essentially use those classes for revision, as I've learned from Art Smart. Just make sure you know the content before you get into the classroom, and then you're going to be fine.
Cool, so that's like first thing, basically try to get a bit ahead. Anything else? What other, that's 1 out of 3. What's the other 2 that you would have,
Definitely doing past HSC questions. Like, start them in Year 11, because then you gain confidence in what you need to do. You know that you have the information, or what information you need to answer the questions, and then you it's just start HSC questions within year 11 so you get...
So ones that obviously you can answer because there's a lot that you
they
can't.
answer.
If it's not HSC, it'd be prelim exam questions, right? And are we talking about doing full papers, or are we just doing like questions at a time?
On the dot points that you've covered. So I would check with your school when they're doing what, study that, and then do questions that answer that dot point. So, and then if you want to, put them in your study notes. So it's just so that when you're studying, you can see how you've answered questions perfectly.
And then tip number 3.
Your teacher's your best friend. So your teacher is going to be the one who's going to make sure you get through your HSC, make sure you essentially know what you need to know, and so just make sure that you are friendly with them, make sure you treat them nicely, make sure you're just respectful to them. Just generally be nice to your teachers.
Because you want them to mark stuff for you, right?
Oh yeah. And they're also, they're the ones that mark your in-house exam, so if you're nice to them, who knows?
Awesome. So what's been the number 1 habit that you've changed in year 11 that's had the biggest impact on your life and results?
My discipline. Just making sure that I get the work I need to get done by the time I need to get it done, and just making sure I get work done.
So, and how do you make that happen? I mean, it's easy to say discipline.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like so many students watching this will be like, yup, but how?
Okay. Well, there's multiple ways that I found. One of them is writing out a list. I find that writing out a list of what I need to get done, that helps me focus, because it's like, oh, I need to do all of this. Okay. Then writing down when it's due and then how much time you think it needs to get done. So then you can just map out what work you have when you think you can get it done. One thing, then finding out why. I'm going to say this a lot, but finding out why you want to do the work, why you want to do that subject, and then what impact it will have. That is a big thing that helped me focus more, because I understand why I'm doing it. And then if you're ever confused, if you're ever stuck on something, and that's something that you're saying to yourself that is why you can't do anything, then just Google it. Google everything you don't know, or email your teachers, or look at the Art of Smart resources if you have them.
I know it's early days, but what's been the best thing so far about your experience as a Pathfinder?
It's helped me focus myself. Actually, with my procrastination, I used to procrastinate on everything, even the stuff that I love. So like, even when I was planning D&D sessions, as I'm a dungeon master for a group of my friends, so like, even when I was planning those, I procrastinated. So it's just focusing myself is what I've focusing myself, and learning why I want to do things is just help me focus. Yeah, to help focus myself is probably the best thing that I could have asked for.
I don't know if this is yet all played out for you, but I'll ask the questions anyway. The Pathfinder program has 3 core objectives: lift for results, find direction, and then standing out. How has the program so far helped you lift results?
Well, it's helped me focus more on my work, helped me have the discipline to get the work done, and then study ahead, have the discipline to actually study ahead, because I got 2 weeks ahead of all my classes within 1 week of holiday. So like, to have the discipline to do that, it has helped me tremendously, and helped me gain confidence within all my classes. And
how has it helped you find direction?
Focusing myself. Yeah, just understanding why I want to do things to help focus myself, to just go like, okay, I want to do this, just do that.
And what is the thing you want to do? I mean, because I know you've now got some really great clarity.
Well, there's a few things I want to do. I've recently got a student position within my school, so there's a lot of things that I want to get through that. Focusing what you want to do as a career, thinking about if anything, just think about what you want to do as a career, what you like, what you don't like, then focus on that. A great book is Do What You Want and the Money Will Follow. So just focusing on what you want to do, and then thinking about how you can make that into a career.
Do you have any other advice for students? We've shared a bunch of things so far. Is there anything else that you haven't shared that you really want to share with students, either about your experience in Art of Smart, strategies, or things that you think could make a difference in their life? Anything at all?
First of all, it would be to definitely study ahead. Studying ahead is vital. And making sure you're on top of your study notes, that's also vital. It's just make sure you're up to date with everything, including homework. Starting your assessments as soon as you get them, that's vital, but everyone says that. Always read your English book before term starts. I haven't done that, and I need to do that over the holidays now, so just make sure you do that. But then there's one thing that I've found out recently, is that if you ever need to have something done, or if you ever want something to change, or if you ever want to do something, always ask, because you never know what's going to happen until you ask. Like for example, I actually got passed up for a leadership position at my school when the leaders were announced, but then I asked, essentially made it so that I got a leadership role.
So created one.
Yeah, she created one for me.
When you say you asked, though, it wasn't like, please, can I just have a position? Like, you were coming with, I'm sure, some suggestions and ideas and things that you wanted to contribute. But by doing that, right?
Then it became a possibility.
So instead of waiting to be picked, which is sort of the first thing that would have happened, right? Like, you've been selected for a leadership role. The alternate that you have, which I'm hearing, is that you can actually create leadership roles for yourself by being proactive and having conversations and asking.
Definitely. And then, if nothing else, then just do what you would do if you got the leadership role and show them that you can.
Well, it's still exhibiting the leadership, right? Regardless of title.
Definitely, yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. Any other final things you want to share?
Have fun. Make sure you have time to have fun. Just book in time to have fun. It's something that just have fun. Make sure you relax. Make sure you don't work yourself to exhaustion, and sleep a lot. Teenagers need sleep.